Well, good day, everybody. Thanks for stopping in. Hey, as most of you have been experiencing, it is unbelievably cold outside. Today's the warmest day we've had in, I don't know, 3-4 days, 5 days. And it was actually above zero, so that was a good thing. When it's cold like this, I'm not the one to rush outside and fire up the log splitter and run it. So I try to find things to do inside. And when it gets cold like this and not a lot going on outside, one of the things I like to do is just kind of check over my saws. So kind of show you today what I do when I'm going through my saws. Not doing any real maintenance, just basically check them over, clean them up, and make sure that they're ready to go for the next time we cut. So if that interests you, hopefully you'll stick around and we'll get to it. The saw that I'm going to be using today is my Stihl model MS441. This and my 462 are the last two saws I had out. And as you can see by this one, it's kind of messy. I may or may not have dumped bar oil all over it, filling it up. So the place I generally start is I get the clutch cover pulled off of them. I'll clean out the clutch cover, and I'll clean all the dirt and the gunk out of this area. Then I'll go through and I kind of blow them all out real good. And then I'll pull the air filter cover off, make sure that's okay. And like I said, I'm basically just doing a little tidying up. I'll check my chain to see if it's still sharp. If it needs to be sharpened, I'll go ahead and swap it out with one of the sharp chains that's hanging on the wall in here. And this one still looks pretty good. I don't know that I ran this one. I think I ran the 462 most last time. So that chain looks pretty good. So it's not too filthy. I just usually use a brush and get the chunks out of it. First off, use a little pocket screwdriver, replace the dump and loose. So I just turned the air compressor regulator down to about 20 psi. That way I can blow off around the filter and not worry too much about damaging anything or tearing the paper element in the filter. Oops, apparently turned it down too much. There we go. My filter looks pretty good, all except for one spot, and that's what I was trying to get cleared out. So since we already got the cover off, I pull the plug out and just make sure it still looks good. That's a lot of stuff out of that bar, and I've only cut for, I don't know, maybe an hour on this saw since the last time I cleaned it. Another thing to take the time to do while you're in here is look over your drive sprocket. Make sure that it's not getting a lot of wear on it. So typically when I'm doing this is a time that I like to use it to look things over real good. If I notice that there's any worn parts like that drive sprocket, which I knew this one would be okay. I bought this saw last February, and I got a brand new one with the saw. So this one's only got, you know, a year's worth of cutting on it at this point. So I knew it would still be good, but just for instance, that's the kind of stuff that I like to look over. You know, and they're actually up in the shop, but typically, like, I have a spare fuel filter and spare plugs and some stuff like that. So otherwise, it's a good time to make a list, and that way you can go and pick up some parts, and while it's really cold and crappy outside and you don't feel like you want to be out there, take a few minutes and clean up your saw. Gives you a good chance to kind of look things over, and keeps me busy. Gives me something to do. This is the part of firewood that I like best. If I had to do firewood with a buck saw and a hatchet and an axe, I probably wouldn't be involved. But I love running power saws, and so I just like to use my downtime to make sure they're in tip-top shape. Just give them a little love and keep them going. So everything on this looks pretty good. We got all the sawdust and stuff out of it, so we can go ahead and start putting it back together. One thing I do want to, I'll write down here before I'm done. This has got the aluminum chain catcher bolted on it. And my dogs have the hole for the chain catcher that goes between the felling dogs. So that's one thing I need to pick up. I really, on my little saws, that little aluminum chain catcher doesn't bother me, but it drives me nuts changing chains and having it there. So that's something I will definitely get a new chain catcher, the other style chain catcher for this saw, and swap it out. Chain still looks like it's in good shape, so we'll put it back on. I might touch it up with a file just to kind of make sure it's got just a stroke or two on each tooth, just to make sure there ain't no burrs or something on them. So a trick that I learned from an old tree guy that we used to chase around and get a lot of our firewood from. He always showed me on chainsaws that had longer bars on them. When you go to set your chain tension, he would always prop the bar up so the bar had all the slack out of it, and then he would set them. So something I've just, ever since he showed me that, just something I've always done, and it seems to work good. So I got my nuts a little tight. Seemed to be a good trick, so I just continue to do it that way. If you have trouble, after you swap chains out, if you have trouble noticing that your chain comes loose pretty quick, right after you swap it out and you tighten it up, try using the board and propping it up and taking that slack out of the bar, and you may notice that that goes away. That was the big thing I've noticed since I've been doing it that way. Well, there you have it. That's just some of the simple basic maintenance and cleaning that I do to my saws when I have some downtime, like this evening. We pay a lot of money for these things. Even if you're buying them like this one I bought used, it was still a considerable amount of money. So take a few minutes, take a little time with them, clean them up. I'm not saying you got to spit shine them, but do what you can to keep them running and keep them in good working order, and they'll serve you for a long time. So I appreciate everybody stopping by, and I hope you found this helpful, and hope you all have a good week, and I'll see you soon.